Hey, Tevis, do you think I'm good to go? I feel like my hair looks a little weird today.
What do you mean? It looks great.
Like, I mean, I don't know. I just don't want somebody saying, hey, did you see Najee's hair? Can you believe he went on camera looking crazy like that?
No, it looks like it always does. It looks fine.
Fine? Are you saying it always looks this bad?
No, dude, that's not what I'm saying at all. You're getting way too intense about this. Where's all this anxiety coming from?
I don't know, okay? It's just something I've been dealing with for a while. It came in the past, and it flares up every once in a while. Okay, I'm stressed about it.
Okay, I think I get it. If you think about it, that's how most of our fears happen. If something happened in our past, maybe it was an accumulation of things, and when something similar comes up, it triggers it.
Yeah, probably because we didn't deal with it right the first time when it happened.
Right. So with this series, we hope to recognize our fears.
Yeah.
Don't be too proud to admit them. And then let's focus on Jesus, who can help us conquer them.
Let's talk about a very real one. Something that, as you saw, freaked me out a little bit. You know, it's the worry or fear of what other people might say or think about you.
Yup. That's a good one. It's called approval addiction. It's when everything we do, we try to get approval from someone else rather than trying to please God. I guarantee you, we've all struggled with that.
So many things go into this one. Like the worry about the way we look and things we do.
Are we funny enough? Are we good enough? Is someone gonna make fun of us?
Yeah, I'm afraid of being criticized when I do something wrong. All those worries can deeply affect us and rule over us if we're not careful.
Yeah, I mean, these worries can be crippling. Think about it. If you're scared of what other people might think of you, you probably always second guess yourself. You may become shy, or on the other hand, you may start doing bad things in hopes of being liked by others.
Maybe you can relate. But ultimately, like any fear, it keeps us from doing the things that God wants us to do.
So with that in mind, here's our main point for today. It's, I won't fear because Jesus saves me.
That's good.
It all boils down to this. All anxiety stops at the assurance and the approval of Jesus.
Love to talk more about that when we get back. But for now, let's turn it over to you guys. Think about a moment when you were afraid of what someone else might think about you. How did that impact you in the decisions that you made?
So, there was this one time that I was peer pressured by my friends to jump into a lake. But what is peer pressure? What does it do, and why does it work? Peer pressure is when someone similar to you gets you to do something you wouldn't normally do. Sometimes, peer pressure can help us do good things. A friend might pressure you to stick with a difficult sport, or keep trying to get better at something you've been struggling with. A friend might pressure you by saying, don't give up, or come to church with me. There are positive pressures, but sometimes people will pressure you in bad ways. They might tell you to do something that you know isn't right. Like this. They might say something like, everyone is doing it, or who cares if you do something bad? Just because everyone else seems to be doing something that's wrong doesn't mean you should too. Today, we're going to talk about a time when someone was negatively influenced by peer pressure and what they did about it. A long time ago, there was a man named Daniel. The thing about Daniel is he had great faith and he always tried to obey God's plan. He prayed every day, multiple times a day. And one day, a bunch of the king's advisors gathered to plot against Daniel. Everyone was telling Daniel not to pray to God. If Daniel prayed to God, the administrators would have had Daniel killed for breaking the law. The advisors caught Daniel praying, so he was thrown into a den of hungry lions for praying to God. That's crazy, right? You may hear this story so far and say, this is what I get for standing up against peer pressure. Daniel would have been safe if he just didn't pray at all or followed what everyone else was doing. You're right. Standing up to peer pressure can be really hard. You might even get in trouble for doing the right thing. What we can learn from this story with Daniel is that Daniel's faith allowed him to obey God and stand up for what is right. You don't have to listen to bad peer pressure. We can obey God even when it's difficult, and God will be there with you.
All right, let's see how many world records we can complete in 3 minutes.
This one is leapfrogs. We only have 30 seconds. We need to do as many as possible.
3, 2, 1. We did 29, the world record's 32. Better luck next time. On to the next one.
Yep. This time we're talking TP Tower. We gotta stack them in 30 seconds. Let's do this thing. My
Right now the record is 29 and 30 seconds. We have 30 here, so if we can stack all of them, we've beaten the record. So I think we attempted that 5 times, right, Najee?
Yeah, it was tough.
We failed every time. I don't think it's possible. I don't know how they got 29 in the first place.
Defeated by the toilet paper tower.
The solution might be taking the paper off first.
Who knows?
On to the next one.
This one is marshmallows. She has to eat all these marshmallows in 30 seconds. Let's go, Alyssa. All right, that's 1. That's 2. Come on, cheer on. Let's go. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
It's harder than I thought.
It's a lot. It's a lot of marshmallows. Here, I'll help you out.
45 seconds.
Keep it down. And this is serious business.
30 seconds.
It's so dry.
It's a what? That was a lot.
That was drier
Right?
than I ever thought it was gonna be.
Drier than the Sahara. Well, that was a good try. High challenge time. We didn't break any records, but we were pretty close. See you next time.
Stories of the Bible. Daniel in the Lion's Den. This is Daniel.
Oh, hey!
Who was a Jewish man who was taken to Babylon when he was very young.
Yeah.
Daniel loved God and followed God's rules. He talked to God 3 times a day and asked God for help often. Daniel served in the Babylonian king's court for many years
Yeah, I know him.
and under many kings.
Hey, Daniel.
Daniel always proved himself to be more capable than all the other court officials.
Nice you, huh? Thanks. Well, anytime.
Daniel was serving under King Darius, and because of his great abilities, the king made plans to place him in charge of the entire empire.
Wow, okay.
The other court officials searched for some fault in Daniel, but they couldn't find anything wrong with him. He was faithful, responsible, and completely trustworthy.
Wait.
The court officials realized the only way to get at Daniel would be to challenge his faith.
Come on.
So they went to King Darius
Excuse me, Your Majesty.
and advised him to make a law that for the next 30 days, any person who prays to anyone except King Darius will be thrown into the lion's den.
I like it.
King Darius signed this law, and once a Babylonian king signed a law, it could not be overruled. When Daniel learned of this law, he went home and knelt down, as he always did, to pray in his room with the windows open towards Jerusalem. He prayed 3 times a day, just as he always had done, giving thanks to God and asking for his help. The officials went to Daniel's house and found him praying.
Gotcha.
They went to the king and reminded him of the law.
I remember.
Well,
Then they said that Daniel had been found praying to God 3 times a day.
What?
When the king heard this, he was very upset,
Get over here.
and he spent the whole day trying to think of a way to save Daniel.
wait, what?
By that evening, the court officials came back to the king and reminded him that no law signed by the Babylonian king could be overruled. So at last, the king gave orders for Daniel to be thrown into the lion's den. The king said to him, "May your God, who you serve faithfully, rescue you." Then the lion's den was sealed shut with Daniel inside. The king spent the night fasting and couldn't sleep. Then very early in the morning, the king hurried to the lion's den. He called out,
Hey, Daniel!
"Was your God able to rescue you from the lions?" And Daniel answered, "Long live the king! My God sent his angel to shut the lions' mouths so that they would not hurt me, for I have been found innocent in his sight." The king was overjoyed and ordered that Daniel be taken out of the lion's den. Then the king ordered the men who had schemed against Daniel to be thrown into the lion's den as punishment. Daniel was safe. There was not a scratch on him, for he trusted in God.
That was a really good Bible story.
I loved the faith and confidence that Daniel showed, not only in this Bible story, but from what we read of his entire life.
Yeah. Be honest. If you were in the shoes of Daniel, how would you respond?
That is a good thought. I have no idea.
Would you worship someone else just because everyone else was? Or would you stay true and worship our one and only God?
Big deal. You know, put it into today's terms. Think of a group of people or your friends who you might want to fit in with. What if they do something that you know is wrong, but you go along with it simply because you don't want to feel left out or be made fun of?
I'm afraid. A lot of times, we probably just go along with it because we're afraid to get rejected by people.
I remember thinking back to school, I would be too self-conscious to raise my hand in class because what if I'm wrong? I'd embarrass myself.
Oh yeah, I've been there. Or even now, I sometimes still try to measure up to others people's expectations of me.
Right.
We generally want to feel liked by others and we want to gain their approval. And unfortunately, sometimes we don't think twice about how we get there.
So what do we do about it, Tevis?
But the good thing is,
There it is.
there's some news. There's a solution. The only way we can overcome fearing man is fearing God instead.
And what do you mean by that?
Here, check out what King Darius said at the end of the story that we just went over. I issue a decree that in every part of my kingdom, people must have fear and reverence for the God of Daniel, for he is the living God and he endures forever. His kingdom will not be destroyed. His dominion will never end. He rescues and he saves. He performs signs and wonders in the heavens and on the earth. He has rescued Daniel from the power of the lions. Daniel 6:26-27.
Now, explain that in simple terms, please.
Okay, when we come to know God, we will understand just how awesome he is, how powerful and mighty he is, and how teeny tiny we are compared to him.
Yeah, nobody messes with God.
Exactly. So it's a healthy fear. We respect God so much that we don't try to go against his will. This thought alone can calm our desire to try to please others.
It makes sense. Look, to sum it up, worrying about what other people think about you will lead you nowhere. You will always chase this false hope and you're ultimately left feeling insecure and anxious.
That's why, just like Daniel, we hold on to God's love. Only he can give us rest.
Through Jesus, God has shown us his love for us, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. We can cling to his love and find peace that now, because of what Jesus has done for us, we receive the approval of God.
When we accept Jesus' gift of grace and trust in his saving work, God looks on us with delight, not because of anything we've done, but he looks at us with approval through the lens of his perfect Son.
Good stuff. No longer do we need to strive to please other people because we know who we are in Jesus and what he thinks of us.
This is why I won't fear, because Jesus saves me. It's a daily reminder of the work that Jesus has done for us.
And trust me, it's getting harder in today's world with social media and all that. But again, just like any fear, to overcome it, we have to focus on God's love and what he says about us rather than our own problems.